guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are returning, hello. If you're new, hi, welcome to me and my awkward self. Today I'm doing a Boxycharm review. I feel like I was kind of disappointed with this month. I like some of the products, but for the most part I was not into this month's box. So I'm gonna share my thoughts on the products with you today. Without further ado, here's the review. So I'm going to start with the eyeshadow palette that came in this month's box. This is the Party Animal palette from Laura Lee, Los Angeles. For the palette, I was actually really excited to get it because I don't have like colorful shadows. And so this was going to be like my first palette with some nice colorful little shadows in it. And I was really excited. For the finishes on them, they're mostly mattes. The bottoms up one is kind of like a sparkle. This one's, it's such a weird shade. It's not a metallic, but it's not a shimmer. It's like an in-between kind of shade. It's weird. And then this blue shade has the slightest bit of shimmer in it, and I didn't notice it until like 3 days after I had used the palette. It's very like insignificant, but it does have shimmer in it. The other three are matte. And for the palette itself, I do like it. It's a very nice small size. You can travel with it, and I think it's very well put together. Like, it doesn't feel cheap or anything. The shadows I was not quite impressed with, which is pretty disappointing since these are going to be like my only colorful shadows that I have. They're okay with pigmentation. They're not the most pigmented. They have just decent pigmentation. I always swatch the palettes first, and the more I swatched them, they just kept getting less pigmented and more patchy with each shade. So that was really weird, and I didn't really experience any more pigmentation when I was actually using it on the eye. I don't have it on my eye today, but I will insert some looks that I did using the palette. While I think the looks that I came up with were really great and really pretty, it did take more effort to get those final results of those eyeshadow looks rather than using my other palettes. I did have to blend more. I did have to build the color up more than I'm used to in my palettes that I currently have and use. So that was a little disappointing. Usually with such bright colors like these, I'd rather them be very pigmented. And these were just kind of lackluster in the pigmentation department. And I also noticed with Dranks, the orange shade, and then Damage Control, the lighter blue, I used those kind of as like a transition color, and they would always blend out gray almost, and kind of like a cool toned brown almost. And I had no idea like what was causing it. I used the same eye primer that I do with every other palette, and I've never had that happen before, so it's kind of a weird thing to happen with like a bright blue and a bright orange. They just blended out gray. That was weird. And then bottoms up, it is like pretty sparkly if you can see it, but the sparkle kind of just disappears as you put it on your eye, even with a packing technique. If you just pack it on, I did notice the sparkle was pretty lackluster compared to what it looks like in the pan. Looks like it'd be just like a pretty sparkly shimmer, beautiful shade. And Hanover is probably the purple shade Hanover. It's probably the worst shadow I've ever worked with out of all the palettes that I have. It is super patchy no matter what. I'll swatch Hanover for you. I swatch them all the same. I kind of like get about that much of product on my finger for any shadow that I'm swatching. And then this kind of, let me move over. And then I just don't like the way it swatches. It just kind of, I don't know if you can tell, but it's patchy. It kind of clumps up in areas. And I don't know, it's not a good look. I don't like it. And it was the same when you apply it on your eye. It applies pretty, if I'm being completely honest, it applies terribly. It's one of the worst, actually it probably is the worst shadow I've ever tried and used out of all the palettes that I've ever had and tried. Even like cheap drugstore palettes from like back in the day, like 6 years ago, drugstore eyeshadow did not be like this. So I don't know. This palette was just kind of a flop, like all around. While yes, you can get some pretty eyeshadow looks out of it, it is kind of a palette you have to work with a little more than other palettes. So if you already have colorful shadows like these, I would not get this palette. And if you're looking to get colorful eyeshadow palettes, I would look somewhere else. I know Morphe discontinued their colorful palette, but I hear it's in the works coming back, so maybe you could pick that up if it ever does come back. But there have been a lot of more indie companies coming out with colorful eye looks, so I would definitely recommend checking out Certify or the Blush Tribe, and I'll leave them linked below. They have really pretty palettes, and I'm really wanting to try them. So if you're looking for a colorful palette, I would not recommend this one. It is just not, it's not user friendly. That's the short answer. It's not user friendly. Don't get it. If you like me, I like user friendly products, and this one you kind of have to work more. The next product is, I thought this was going to be like an eyebrow pomade, but this is in fact an eyeliner. This is from Bane Beauty. It's just a little eyeliner pot. It's brown. It's kind of like a chocolate brown. It is quite cool toned. I thought it was going to be more like a rich, warm tone chocolate. And then actually applying it, it does come off a lot more cool toned. It's very light. It's not very harsh, and it's not going to give you like a harsh look. I do like the product so far. I've only used it a couple times, but I do like it. It's not, doesn't dry fast, so I do have time to work with it and get a nice little wing going on. But it also is creamy enough to where it glides on, and you're not just like making a huge liner mess because it's too creamy. It's kind of like the right consistency of liner, at least gel liner, that I really like. So if you do want like a brown gel liner, you could check this one out. It is, but do remember it is cool toned, so if you're looking for like a rich, like chocolate warm brown, this probably isn't for you. It's definitely more cool toned brown. Next is this primer. I got the, what is this, Backlight priming filter from Becca. I have wanted to try Becca primers for a while now. I feel like nobody talks about them, so I don't really know if they're good or not, so I was just really curious to try some. And this one is kind of like the luminous one. It's supposed to be kind of luminous, give your skin a nice glow. That's kind of what it looks like. That's terrible, but I don't want to put a bunch on my hand. It's just kind of gold, and it does provide a little bit of luminous look, a luminous look to your skin, but it just gives a nice little pretty glow. This would be pretty if you're not going to wear foundation one day, but you still want like a radiant look. I would definitely wear this without foundation, just go. But probably the only downside to this is it is very heavily scented, and I'm not sensitive to smells at all, but this one is very scented. So if you're even like slightly sensitive to smells, I would not get this primer. I don't know about the other Becca primers, but this one in particular is very scented. And I didn't even put that much on my face. Even just this little bit I put on my hand, I can smell it strongly. But that's like the only thing I didn't like about it. I did put it on today. I know you can't tell I'm wearing foundation because I use light coverage foundation, but I really love the way it looks. It really made my skin smooth. I usually, probably because I use a matte foundation, and it just doesn't agree with my skin, I usually kind of get the dry look to my foundation skin, but this really like helped that. It didn't emphasize the dryness or anything. It really did smooth out my pores, which I wasn't expecting because I thought it was just going to be a luminous primer, but it did smooth out my skin, fill my pores a little bit. So if you don't mind the smell and if you can get past the smell, I would definitely try this out. I know Becca can be a little expensive, so if you're not entirely sure that you're gonna like it, definitely don't try it. I think their primers are like $30 or something. That's a lot for a primer that is so heavily scented and may not work for you. So if you are willing to spend the money on it, definitely try it, because I did really like this primer. The next product is this little thing right here. I thought this was a perfume at first for some reason. I don't know, it looked like a little perfume. But it is a cuticle oil from NCLA Los Angeles, and it's part of their So Rich line. This is the Lollipop one, but it's just a little cuticle oil. It smells really good. It kind of has that vanilla scent that some higher end makeup products have, that like signature cake smell, but it's not overpowering at all. I know sometimes, at least to me, that smell can get overpowering really fast, and this one is very subtle, but it's there enough to where you would notice it, and it has a little dropper, so it makes applying it really easy. I used to want to be a nail technician, and it made me get super into my nails. My nails are never done, but I am super like anal about my nails, and I like them to look good, and so I'm always down to try cuticle oils. This one I'm actually liking so far. It doesn't feel greasy. It sinks into my skin really well, so my hands aren't slippery from it at all, and it really does help with the dryness of my cuticles. I definitely have dry skin. You're not going to be able to see, but the skin around my nails is dry usually, especially when I worked at a coffee shop and I was washing my hands constantly. My hands were looking rough, so cuticle oils really saved me. And this one is really nice. It's $18. I know the price of this one because I looked it up, but this one is $18. I think I'm kind of on the fence about the price. I've had cheaper cuticle oils that give me the same results and that I like just as much, so I'm not sure if $18 is really needed for a cuticle oil, but it is a nice one if you would want to try it out. And there is quite a lot in here, so that's always a plus. It is going to last you a long time. I usually do like just a tiny little drop per nail. I don't have big nails, so I don't really need a lot anyway, but it is going to last you a while, so I guess $18 is kind of worth it. But there are definitely cheaper versions out there of cuticle oils that you can get away with using instead of this, and it'll work the same for you. Also in the box is from Wonder Beauty. This is the brand that had the mascara in last month's box. These are little eye patches, skincare, eye masks, whatever you want to call them. They're the things that are kind of like, I don't know, bean shaped. They look like beans. I actually haven't tried these ones out yet. If I'm being completely honest, I don't care about skincare. There was a few months last year where I was all about skincare, and then here I am, not caring. One day I'll get into wearing masks like I used to, but I have not tried these yet. I don't really have under eye concerns. Like, I do have dark circles, but I just don't care enough to use products to combat that. So I will be interested to see how these turn out. I don't know. I'm always so on the fence about like eye creams and stuff. I don't have eye problems besides bad eyesight. Is there something besides LASIK that can help with bad eyesight? I don't think so. So, you know, I'm not too interested in eye skincare. The last product from this month's box is a liquid lipstick from Smashbox. It's kind of a very deep magenta color. I like the applicator on it. It's kind of curved, and so it really hugs your lips really well, but it's still not too big for even my smaller lips to where it's gonna just go over your natural lip. But this is definitely not a color I would normally use, but I did wear it today. It kind of stained my lips. You can kind of tell. I did actually really like this. I'm not really into liquid lipsticks anymore, but this one was really nice. It didn't dry down like completely, which I don't know, it's not a big deal for me. I don't wear lip products anyway for a very long period of time, so I don't need longevity out of them. But if you do like liquid lipsticks, this one, or even if you don't like liquid lipsticks, this one was a very comfortable formula. It really did feel just like a normal lipstick. It didn't feel like a liquid lipstick. It felt hydrating, it felt comfortable, and it was matte. It just didn't dry down completely, so it's not gonna be transfer proof. Like I said though in the beginning, I wasn't really a fan of this month's box. The cuticle oil, cool. The lip color, as much as I liked it, I'm not into lip products at all. I'd rather just wear my bare lips. The palette I was so excited for that, and then I was pretty disappointed by it, so that was a pretty big letdown for me. The liner was nice, and I guess the primer, the Becca primer, was really the only thing that I liked from the box, like actually fully liked. But everything else was just kind of like meh. I think this is like the first Boxycharm box where I was just like, eh. It wasn't my favorite. Definitely wasn't a box that I liked, but they did have some nice products. Maybe it's just personal preference for me, and I just didn't like these products. Maybe you are gonna love these products, but I just wasn't a fan of this month's box. I do still love Boxycharm. I love their subscription service. I think it's very worth it for what you're getting, and even though you're gonna get products that you're not gonna like, I think it's better than buying that product for its retail price, like $30, and then not liking it. So it's better to get it in a subscription box. I will leave my blog linked below. I will have the review for this box up on there. And I still do better reviews over there just because I'm more comfortable writing it. And I don't have a lot of time to film videos, so I just take what I can get as fast as I can do it. That's what I do it. And so that will be linked below, and make sure to check out my Instagram for makeup looks. I just hit 600 followers and I'm so happy. Like I never thought I would. It's taken me like a year to get from 500 to 600, so I'm so happy. And thank you for stopping by again, and I'll see you next video for some more fun.